Welcome to Beyond This Point Ministries. I'm Joyce Oglesby, your weekly host of this segment on relationships. This is part 3 of A Beautiful Mother's Day Mourning. If you missed the first 2 parts, I'd invite you to go back and view the others in order to bring yourself up to date on the events. The title alone, written out of course, gives you an indication that this message is a little bit different sort of celebration of motherhood. The mourning of a mother's passing is never easy. Many of you viewing may have lost your mothers as well, or even a daughter, which is totally out of the order of life. I pray it's not too painful for you to listen to how the Lord allowed me to view the journey of my mother's death as a true blessing in my life, thus promoting healing through the grief. You will recall that after her death, I was on a morning jog, as in early a.m. It did work into a jog of mourning, as in sorrow. But God revealed to me what a blessing the last hours I had with my mother should be to me. I had taken you to her last hours in the hospital after the family had decided to take her off life support, and yet the medical staff did not take her off sustaining liquids. This was making what should have been a 2 to 3 hour passing something very long, drawn out, and far more of a struggle than it ever should have been. 32 hours and 5 minutes. Let me continue with the story. Family members would drop in to check the status of Mother. Several of us would join in songs that she had loved through the years. It was comforting to us to join hands around her bed and harmonize Amazing Grace and Go Rest High, 2 of her favorites. Heavily medicated for pain, she was still aware of the presence of the Lord in her children, as we could see her face relax when we would sing. A blanket of calmness covered us all. Tension would ease and everyone would relax for a bit, and then visitors would come and go. We were all very weary. For some, a bite to eat, a wink or 2 of rest, or just a break from the grueling task were welcome as the night dragged on. I would stay at her side. I continued to talk her through her death. I would dress her as Mama more often. It was the endearing name of all her children. Mama, do you remember the races we used to have stringing tobacco? Our hands would get so banged up, we'd knock our knuckles black and blue and red trying to beat each other to the end of the stick. You'd tell me, gotta push that tobacco back and make it tight, honey, because I would really spread it out on the sticks sometimes so that I could finish faster than you. We had to make those sticks weighty to get more in the barn. I used to resent that they didn't come out sooner than they did with those high-end technology to do the easy way of tobacco putting up, but they didn't. I don't resent it anymore either, Mama. I learned to really be quick with my hands. I learned to work really hard, never quitting a job until it was done. She nodded with approval at that. She knew that we had all worked hard in those days. We were climbing the staircase to heaven step by step. Each step became more excruciating than the other. Our labors on the farm had not equipped us for this exercise, I can tell you. We were growing weary. The medical events of the week had not allowed much rest for either of us. We both were burning with pain. The pace was challenging. Each new stride rendered agony as we forced ourselves to continue the ascent to heaven. Mother was really laboring for breath by now. I was trying to stay calm and collected and ease her struggle. Let's rest a bit, Mother. We don't have to go so fast. I know you're anxious to see your daddy and Mom, but I know they're making preparations for you, but just let's pace ourselves. They'll be truly happy to see you. All the angels are preparing a room just for you and making sure everything's in order in your new home. I'm jealous, Mama. I can't wait to get there myself. I've read about the journey you're taking today. You'll be witnessing things that earthly eyes have never seen and ears have never heard. Talk about a trip. This is what all Christians live for, Mama, and die for. I was choking back the tears. On and on I talked, and I was relieved for others to come in and take over the conversation for a minute or 2. There were those who were concerned that I was talking her to death, no pun intended. what they perhaps were forgetting amidst the distress is that Mother loved to hear her children talk. She had spoken many times of how lonely she would be for conversation and how she loved it when we would call for no reason at all, just to talk. Much of the discussion with her children was reliving the past, so it seemed befitting that we would be sharing memories as we made this trek. I had prayed for wisdom to coach her through this valley and was firmly convinced that God had given me the appropriate answer. The morning finally broke and she was really struggling by now. Her body was beginning to swell beyond the point of recognition, and still no one had removed those fluids. No one listened to our pleas. 24 hours would pass and on into the noonday hour. I encouraged my sister, who had been her main caregiver for the past several years, to get some rest. I knew Mother would not let go until Kathy was out of the room. Mother had told us both that she hoped Kathy would not have to watch her die. My sister left with one of my brothers and went to the hospitality room for the much-needed rest. It would be the first time Mother and I would be alone. I whispered to Mother, "Mama, Kathy is gone. You can let go now. You've seen all your children. Kathy and Carol are resting. The others won't be back in. They're just waiting around. You can do this right now. We're all alone. It's just us." The nurse broke the silence to inform me that she had orders to remove the morphine drip. The doctor had decided it was no longer cost-effective to keep her on it, since it had taken her so long to decease. I was floored and incited by the lack of insensitivity and the fact that they could put a price on my mother's life. But I didn't make a scene. I kept to task. She would need me more now than ever, and I had to keep my focus on her ascent to heaven. The next 2 hours would be horrendous. I had been on my feet, standing over her, since 10 a.m. the day before. I was emotionally and physically spent, and now she would have to complete her journey without the benefit of the sedation to keep her pain controlled. I continued walking her up the staircase to heaven, encouraging her, repeating everything I had said throughout the past several hours, ad-libbing as we progressed and stopping for respite. At the end of the 2 hours, I walked away from the bed to the corner of the room and fell to my knees, and I begged God to take her home. She has suffered so much in her life, and now her death has been a struggle too, Lord. It's wrong that it should be this way. Please, Heavenly Father, send your angels of mercy and death quickly. The tears were flowing freely as I resumed my bedside position. I looked up at the monitor and was amazed at the stats as they began to drop, drop, drop. I began coaching the ascent once again. "Here we go, Mother. Let's take another step. You're almost there. We've been walking all night. I know you're tired, but you have to keep pushing." "My legs are tired too, Mother." Suddenly her eyes were wide and curious. "What?" I inquired. "Who do you see, Mom? What are you trying to say?" She struggled to utter words. "I know, it's your daddy." She nodded. "You loved him ever so much. You were his special little girl. I know you can't wait to sit with him and catch up." She smiled the sweetest smile, and her eyes opened even wider as though she was seeing something that no one else could. "Oh, and Nanny, you'll get to see her too. She's waiting with your dad. They were apart for those many years, but now they're together in heaven waiting on their little girl. You'll get to see Uncle Tony and little Tony. It's going to be a grand reunion, Mama. You're truly lucky. I wish I could go with you today. I can't wait to see what God has in store for us there. Just a little farther to go, Mom. Keep climbing, Mother. You're almost there. You're almost at heaven's gates." She groaned, and I strained to understand what she was muttering. She was really beginning to stir. Her heart was beating very rapidly. Her breathing became shallow. Yet there was beginning to be life in her, a different kind of life. Then she would relax, exhausted. I know, you're tired. We just have a few steps left, Mama. I can see heaven's door now. Can you see it? She would nod with affirmation. Do you see the lights of heaven, Mama? I've always heard that when it's time to go home, the light is truly brilliant. I wish I could see through your eyes. It had been a magnificent experience. Are we alone, Mama? Is someone walking beside you other than me? I sense a presence, but I can't see through your eyes. Everything's going to be okay, Mama. You don't have to worry about meeting God. You have a place reserved just for you. Your name is in His book. We were baptized together. Then another pause from the labored breathing. It was now 2:03 p.m. It was obvious by the stats that she was slipping away. This is it, isn't it, Mother? You only have a few more steps and you're home. You're home. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into the gates of home. That's what God's going to say to you, Mama. I love you, Mother. We love you with all our hearts, Mama. You've truly been a good mother. You've sacrificed all your life for your children. You didn't always do everything right, but no one ever does. So don't worry, Mama. Everything's going to be all right. We appreciate all you taught us. We'll keep that in our hearts forever. We won't ever forget you, Mama. You keep watch on us from up there. Your voice will be in our hearts. We'll cherish your strength, your courage, and your love for us always. Bye, Mother. We really love you. I'm sorry I can't come with you, but I'll see you someday soon. I'll do all I can to get everyone prepared for the homecoming. I'll bring as many with me as I can. I promise you that. You've been a good mother. With the great strength my mother always exemplified, she suddenly sat up in bed and looked up toward heaven. She turned to me, her eyes fixed on mine, and she mouthed what I understood as, I love all of you. We love you, Mama. We love you so much. We love. It would be my last journey with my mother. The pearly gates opened, and in an instant she was gone, and I stood watching as the door closed behind her. It was finished. Heaven had welcomed her home as one of its saints, and she was having a party as we were embracing the idea of her departure. It had been a difficult journey. Saying goodbye to my mother would create a void that would be recognized daily. The urge to pick up the phone and see how she was feeling would be frequent. It still is. The need to share events of my life would be marred by the reality that such occasions were spent for the time being. The bond that a mother and child share from birth had been severed and had left a chasm in my heart. Her significance here on earth was measureless, and her absence will continue to prick my spirit. Riding by a house laden with beautiful flowers draws forth a wellspring of memories, good memories of Mother's beautiful gardens. Preparing a favorite recipe of hers stimulates memories of grand meals around her table. Not all memories of my childhood were pleasant, but there is a storehouse of memoirs that I will fondly recall for years to come. They will keep her close to my heart. I will call to mind her laughter and wisdom and reflect on the impact of her life. Forget the memory vice patent. Memory is the connection to moments that would otherwise be lost forever. It is the link to adventures that can never be relived. Reminiscing is the essence of tranquility for moments that find grief and overwhelming emotion. The recollections of my childhood enabled me to coach Mother through her death. What I had perceived as bad times as a child became my saving grace and resurrecting power during this difficult moment in life. The deposit into my memory bank of the blessing in accompanying my mother to heaven's door will be one that I'll regularly make withdrawals. I hope you've gleaned lessons from this message on motherhood. If your daughter or mother are still with you, don't waste time building memories. Life is short. If your mother has passed, there are always good memories to draw from, regardless of how fulfilling your childhood may or may not have been. God's desire is you count it all a blessing. Thank you for joining us. May God bless your days, your home, your life. See you next week.